Ah, she's back in the room. Sorry, I cut you off. I closed the
Yeah,
window for Zencaster. I apologise.
I was just like, Ethan?
Hi, everyone. It's Ethan McKinley, and welcome to the 2-Minute Terminator. It's episode 30. We're going from minutes 58 to 60, the 2 minutes bridging that gap. And I apologise, we've been away for a week. We do aim to be a daily show, but sometimes things come up like the CNN election party that Ethan has to work for as they inaugurated
Working for the Illuminati.
the great and good Donald Trump. It's like a They Live episode. It literally is like a movie. What a crazy world we're living in. When a reality TV star can become the president.
It'd be like Alan Sugar becoming the Prime Minister.
It really is. Alan Sugar, by the way, American or world listeners, we have The Apprentice in England, which I'm not sure who got there first. I think
we did.
We're the first one, and then they did it in America, and Trump did the Alan Sugar role. Alan Sugar is nowhere near our Donald Trump, but he's a very wealthy, I think he's a Jew.
He is Jewish, yeah.
I was going to say, Ellie, I've got an idea. We should do that, go on that Is He a Jew website, and I should do trivia questions with you.
That would be amazing.
That might be a good podcast, I think.
That would be a really see, now that I would get up in the morning.
Jew or not Jew? I'll find the website. I'll link it below. It's really funny, folks. I typed in Paul Simon into Google, and this link came up, said, "Is he a Jew or isn't he?" And I was like, "Oh, that looks interesting." I clicked it, and it took me through to this website, and it was basically a little bio on Paul Simon and his kind of Jewish heritage. I'm not sure if it's an anti-Jewish website or a pro-Jewish website, like, he's one of ours, we got one, I don't know, or is it like, oh, he's a Jew, I'm not sure, but
Ethan.
Hilarious nonetheless. Yes, Ellie?
Hit the music.
Yeah, I think this guy's a couple cans short of a six-pack.
Howdy, stranger.
Don't say howdy, stranger, to me.
Load up.
You didn't do the fourth.
Thank God. It sucked.
Yes, we're back. Hello, everyone. We have been away for a week. It is episode 30, and this is the Trump-enator election special. The bookends of the 2 minutes, going from minutes 58 to 60. The 2 minutes bridging that gap is Courtney being kicked in the nuts by Emilia Clarke, Sarah Connor. And it ends with the news report saying it's integration into our military, referring, of course, to the Skynet operating system. Danny Dyson carrying on his father's work, basically, from Terminator 2.
Oh, hey, Danny.
Oh, hey, Danny. Oh. Tommy Wiseau minute is coming, I assure you.
Okay, so my first question is, how did the police not notice that Jai...
That's the sound of the police.
How did they not notice that Jai had picked up like this sharp implement off the floor? And was
Well, there was a
holding it in one
distraction.
hand when they then
There was a
handed it
distraction.
over the bed?
Now, whether the argument, I think the argument between them is kind of real, or she thinks it's real, Sarah Connor, and he jumps up to get her. But while that distraction's going on, I guess Carl Reese sets that up so he can.
Yeah, no,
she can do that.
What happens, but when he falls on the floor, he grabs, so both his hands are handcuffed together at this stage, and you see him scoop up this kind of sharp, spiky, sharp implement thing.
Why is it on the bed?
Well, it's actually not on the bed because he falls onto the floor, and I think that there's a couple of pairs of scissors and like a scalpel or something. Why there's those things in there, I'm not quite sure.
Well, it is a hospital.
Yeah, but neither of them have had any cuts or stitches.
Well, do we see him actually grab anything? Because I'm rewinding the scene now, and he's kind of falling to the floor. She's got the scalpel. However,
whoa! She doesn't have a scalpel.
Well, if you look when they actually start to free themselves, they both have some sort of little metal implement in order to pick their handcuffs. Now, there's a bit of a cheat in the film, I think, here, because while she's being kind of restrained from lunging at Carl Reese or Jai Courtney, and the same is happening to him likewise, he's surrounded by several people, J.K. Simmons, the two detectives. I don't know where he picks this up, because as she's picking up that implement, the guy is actually cuffing her to the bed. So I don't know how she pulled that off.
Yeah, but that's exactly... I didn't see her grab anything. I don't know what clip you're watching. But when Jai is on the floor, the police go to pick him up and you see his hands. They're both handcuffed together. He scoops up and picks up a scalpel.
I know I'm looking at it. Okay, yeah, I was confused. I thought that was a table. You're right.
Put him on the bed. They then take one of the handcuffs off his hand and then handcuff him to the bed. When he took that second handcuff off, how did he not notice that he was holding a fucking scalpel in his other hand?
Well, yeah, exactly. And my point also is, Sarah Connor has something in her hand as well. So when did she get to grab anything?
Yeah, she never went down. She was always stationary on the bed.
She had something from a previous clip that we've kind of overlooked, even though we're going through this ad infinitum in grim second-by-second
No,
detail.
we haven't missed anything. They're just doing this. Well, I didn't actually see. I can't see anything in her hands. And my point is when they then become freed, and we find out that it was all a ruse, and she goes, "You were very convincing." Why does she always have something arsey or sassy to say? Like
I'm not well.
It's like I don't know. At this stage, if I was Carl, I'd be like, this bitch doesn't deserve my dick. Literally.
Well, I think it's the fault of the filmmakers, really. There should be some kind of arc. I assume, because this was designed to be a 3-part trilogy, this being the first one, of course, of a new kind of reboot/remake franchise launch for the Terminator, they would have fallen in love over several films. But I think she's forcing way too much that she doesn't like him, and I'm not sure if she'd know this, but they're going for this kind of Africa Queen, Humphrey Bogart, Katharine Hepburn. I don't understand it. First they hate each other, now they love each other. Well, of course you don't understand. You're just a robot. Simpsons. Oh, Master Hugh has found a true love.
I love how you went, Simpsons.
Yeah, I think she's basically going. She doesn't like him, but she's laying it on so thick it's coming across as like really petulant and childish.
Yeah.
A little bit like Kate Bosworth when she was one of the worst miscasting in film history. In is it Superman Returns, the Brandon Routh version of Superman? He was fine. It's just like, I assume she got cast in it because she did Beyond the Sea when Kevin Spacey played Barbie Darin and she played like his wife/girlfriend. Immediately after that, he's cast. Sorry, I'm just woken up. He's cast as Lex Luthor in the new Superman film, Bryan Singer's version, and I guess he talked Bryan Singer into casting her as kind of Lois Lane, but she's not got any of the sass or the spunk that Margot Kidder has.
Any assets to get that part.
Yeah, and I don't think Emilia Clarke has got that kind of sassiness. It's kind of like it's forced, and it looks like she's acting. You can see her performance, and it's not like subtle or invisible. Either that, or she's got no chemistry with Jai Courtney. And to be fair, you can't blame her because, as we've said on this like show many times, including as like several all-star guests from the other minute shows, Jai Courtney's a bit like another Terminator like legacy character or holdover, Sam Worthington. We've like. These film studios shove these kind of actors in front of us and go, this person's a movie star. And you go, no, they're not. And you've even discussed that. I think we've come across that on the show before. There's no kind of genuine movie stars anymore. There's like this decentralization of power where you don't really have names above titles anymore. Even Tom Cruise in the Mission Impossible films, he shares the banner. Like when if the actor is mentioned over the film title. I don't think since Mission Impossible...
Yeah.
Wow, maybe 3 when he kind of fell out with Paramount Studios head Sumner Redstone. He went Scientology and couch jumping bonkers. He's always and Johnny Depp as well on the Pirates movies. It's no longer Johnny Depp Pirates of the Caribbean. It's Johnny Depp and so and so and so and so and so and so.
Bloom and Keira Knightley.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
And Ellie knows this because she begrudgingly had to admit Tom Cruise is a genuine movie star when she didn't like him and then started watching films and was like, oh fuck, all these films are really good and he's good.
I just don't like him as a person. Great actor, terrible person.
Apparently he's a nice person though. This is the thing where I get the disconnect with Tom Cruise because he seems like a lovely person. Everyone says he's a lovely person. Anyone who's been in a film with him said he's really nice. But there's then this weird dichotomy between that and this kind of like strategy of like, I know I'm the only person that can help because I'm a Scientologist and all that kind of like that crazy talk.
That's the real him though, I think. I think if he comes across like, oh yeah, we've worked with him and he's really nice, and yeah, he's so nice. That makes me so suspicious. Like,
is that the They Live mask?
Exactly.
By the way, you mentioned you were watching Grand Designs earlier. If anyone doesn't know what that is, it's basically people who have tons of money decide to either renovate a giant house or build a glass house on the side of a mountain. Is that the show? That's right, isn't it?
It is the show, but the one that I watched was actually the complete opposite. So these people, they've moved to Wales to this little community. They literally have £500 in their budget.
And it turns out the communities are devil worshippers. And they have to get out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the Wicker Man. This community, they all live off the land. They're all self-sufficient. And if you haven't, what you have to do is you have to build your own kind of shelter. You have to have some kind of job within that community. You have to help provide food. And
then the clan leader has to have sex with your wife. It always boils down to having sex with your wife or daughter.
There was a bit where you saw them all around a fire, and I was like, oh, here we go. Wait till it's full moon.
The one thing I don't get about Grand Design's like, who are these people with all this bloody money that can build a house from scratch? And it's gigantic and enormous, and they're like, oh, we're starting off with 250,000 just for the foundations.
They're in the most beautiful settings, and then they make this thing that's really abstract and really like it would look amazing.
Ugly. It looks like a Scandinavian sauna with windows in it.
When you see it like plonked in the middle of a field in the glorious countryside, it's just a bit of an eyesore. But that's just
a bloody eyesore.
Yes, Alan. Going back to this particular clip and going back to how Sarah's always so sassy and things like that, I would have thought that even at this stage, you would have thought that the task in hand would occupy her mind, other than playing these silly games. I mean, you're on a quest. I'm on a never-ending quest to save my girlfriend.
On a quest.
To save humanity, and yet she still has time to play these childish, I guess, kind of teenagery games. I don't know.
You do know, Ellie. You already know the answer to this, and you tell me this all the time. It's because she's an irrational woman.
But she's not meant to be.
I know. She's meant to have it all together. More so, probably, than any of the other Sarah Connors in this series, because she's been raised from the age of 10 to be a warrior.
She knows more, and she wasn't Linda Hamilton, who was working in big buns or whatever, having ice cream poured in her pockets.
Got it for me, big buns. That's what I say when I go into Marylebone Station. But it's a fat train conductor and not a lard lad donut boy statue.
I also think that as she's complaining and she says about the naked embrace, she's clearly been thinking about that naked hug that she had. I think his floppy womble must have left like a lasting impression.
His what?
His floppy womble. You know when a dick's flaccid, it does kind of look a bit like a womble.
What's a womble, Ellie, just in case anyone who's not in the UK?
A womble is a creature that lives on Wimbledon Common. It's like a mole with a little hat and everything.
Just to clarify, wombles aren't real, they're fictional characters. It basically was a children's show. I think they were children's books, and then they became like an animated series. If anyone Googles it, you can find it.
That's
the
what
song...
a flaccid penis looks like.
Yeah. They're hedgehogs, aren't they? Or are they?
I think maybe.
They're like some mutant hybrid, like steroid hedgehog, aren't they? It's like it's like a womble. It's like not a hedgehog, but not a fox.
There's nowhere near a fox. Ethan, stop. Stop drinking that Coca-Cola shit. But yeah,
speaking of what?
I've actually been thinking about it. Because nothing.
Well, I know, but I just think the performance is really forced. They're trying to, basically, he's kind of come into her personal space to kind of free her, and she's gone, ooh. She smelt his like musk or his pheromone whiff, and then she starts being into him again. But like leading up to that point, it's so kind of forced. I don't know. It's just not very well handled. I think. I'm not sure if it's the fault of the actress.
She plays very hot and cold, and that's what I mean by these silly games. She obviously likes him to a degree, but yet she keeps putting up this pretense, and it's just like.
I just think, well, they've done it a lot. They've done it better in other films, like Indiana Jones: The First Raiders of the Lost Ark, when Marion and she clearly likes him, or they like each other, but there's so much kind of like history and kind of like issues between them. They can't get over their horse shit and go. Maybe to a lesser extent, Indiana Jones, the second one, and I'd say probably Han Solo and Princess Leia. Harrison Ford, they're completing the trilogy. I'm trying to think of other actors and that who had that kind of chemistry. Where they're kind of like each other, but they just kind of keep being chippy and like Barb's remarks, and
It's just ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. But anyway.
Oh, I know. Shatner and Dr. Carol Marcus in Wrath of Khan. God.
Oh God, yeah. I will avenge you. Out of all of the films, that was definitely the best one. The music was incredible. So good.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, the third one's good as well, I think, and the fourth one with the whales, which you weren't feeling, but that's actually the most popular money-making one, I think.
I just thought it was a bit of a lame story.
I think it's good. It's like a conservation story, but I think it's just like...
Like you care about animals.
Oh no, not that. I just think it was cool that the alien had
whales.
come. They didn't know what it was. They were like, oh, it's trying to talk to whales, and they don't exist anymore because we killed them. But I just like the giant... It's a bit like Rendezvous with Rama, the Arthur C. Clarke's book, which I haven't read. I'm trying to sound clever, but I'm not. But the alien intelligence / spaceship in that is a giant, like, stone-looking column with a ball hanging out of it. It's a bit like me, really.
That was you at TG last week. Going back to this dynamic between the two of them and what they're like, these guys never seem to have a sense of urgency at the right time. So he tries to free her and she goes, I don't need your help. It's like, well, you clearly do because you can't pick your cuffs, babe. He sets her free and then they hear someone outside going, oh, I need to speak to the two like detainees. And they just stand there and then just slowly look towards the door. That could have been anyone. That could, well, it is a threat, but they're not yet to find that out. But there's no sense of urgency. They don't run, they don't hide, they don't try and protect themselves. They just kind of stand there and are just willing to allow happen whatever happens.
I don't know. It kind of isn't a threat. I don't know. I know it's John Connor.
And they really do just let anyone in there, don't they? Like,
By the way,
you
do you...
go in and talk to these people that have just turned up in the middle of a highway completely naked, surrounded by a weird electrical field. If you want to go in and have a chat with them, go for it.
Well, no, because he's obviously got the credentials. We're talking about John Connor now, folks. This is the scene when John Connor, Jason Clarke's version of John Connor, of course, not to be... he's not related to a...
He's not of this time, though, is he?
He's not of this time.
He's travelled back in time to be in this time. Oh, God.
No, he's not, but I'm sure he's got the... Because he is John Connor.
No, I'm
in this,
Spartacus.
in this film lore, he's clearly kind of... somebody knows how to get around, and he did, I guess, live through this time before the war, so he kind of knows the landscape or the geography metaphysically and literally. I think, what was I going to say? Yeah, he'd be able to get like a pass or a fake ID and stuff, especially if he's a robot now anyway. My question is, does he know he's the robot, or does Skynet just like Skynet's agenda come through him?
No, he knows by everything that happens in the next 2 minutes. He definitely knows. I've even got notes on it. So
Well, John Carpenter said this once. I think we discussed this before.
Don't try that with me.
Well, on the commentary for The Thing, John Carpenter said, and I think this is where the remake / prequel failed, the 2011 film, is if you were The Thing, you wouldn't know you were The Thing. You'd be such a perfect copy.
That's an alien. This is a machine. It's different.
No, but it's an alien intelligence.
It's not alien. It's a machine.
Oh, by the way, as a throwback, I've only just found this out, listeners. If you did listen to the 4th season, Terminator Salvation, do you remember when they're in the kind of the Skynet factory / concentration camp and they look up, Ellie, and they see in those windows like naked people?
Yeah.
And we thought they were Terminators. Well, they were actually people. They're like genetically perfect people that Skynet had created. Basically, Skynet had theorized or hypothesized that within 200 years humanity would destroy itself, so it has a change of heart and decides to kind of preserve and recreate humanity, so it bombs the world. This is their reason that it happened, that it created the war, to actually snuff out humanity there and then and restart the human race as a more I guess perfected version of them. So it had this kind of almost like... No, I know, but it was basically growing hybrid human beings.
Okay.
Like biological, not machines at all.
Which I guess
and they lived in this kind.
is.
No, but they lived it. They kept all the genetically perfect people in this kind of like environment that was akin to a kind of like picket fences type / perfect golf course. All the lawns are perfectly mowed area, and that was going to be touched on when Sam Worthington breaks into that level where they've got all the people living in this utopia that they're kind of like trying to build, and then they'll be put out to pasture, if you will, in the kind of like regrown, perfected world that Skynet would build or recreate from scratch.
Where did you find this out?
The Best Forgotten Movies podcast, which is a great podcast. If you've not heard of it, Best Forgotten Movies, they kind of break down films that are either really good or really bad that have been forgotten in time for whatever reason. Their last episode actually was The Thing 2011. But a few months back, they did Terminator Salvation, and one of the things they touched on was this subplot. Because Sam Worthington was meant to be the star of that film, he was going to have this complete journey to figure out why Skynet did what it was, and he was merely a kind of like step in that direction, that he was a machine man.
You have to go back and listen to season 4.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, when we saw those like weird people, those silhouettes of people looking out of the window down at the concentration camp, that was a window to that world or that level where that was perfect and all the water was clean and they lived literally in this kind of like this perfected utopia, if you will. And he was going to break into that and have it explained to him by either Skynet or one of those kind of people what had actually happened and why this had happened the way it had. But there we go. So my question was, like, is John Connor on a mission as John Connor in his own mind going, I've been found my way back in time somehow, I've fallen into the time stream, I've got to locate my mother. And then in the next scene, spoilers, when they do shoot him or he starts acting weird, that's Skynet kind of like his kind of like sub-programming or his algorithm that he's not aware of kind of breaking forth and taking over.
I disagree.
Because a Terminator is a perfect infiltration unit, you would have thought he is literally, although he's not John Connor, in his mind, he is John Connor. Do you know what I mean? So he's like, hey, a bit like if we met tomorrow and we were hanging out and then I just suddenly bludgeoned you to death with an axe. I wouldn't be aware that I was about to do that. It would just happen when it needed to. A bit like when the time is right, the thing will break out and assimilate someone else and make a copy of them.
In the very next scene, and it's actually in the very beginning of the next scene, she asks him a very direct question and he deflects straight away. And there is no explanation of why he's there. I mean, it's all he's very guarded. Like I said, he deflects every question that gets put his way. Well,
I think the biggest mistake he made was that Carl Reese saw him being attacked by Matt Smith's kind of like not human, but like another, I guess, nanobot version of Skynet, which kind of like assimilated John Connor. Well, you said that as well. When the soldiers when that was happening were standing around, they didn't intervene or do anything.
It was very weird. Also, I
don't know. It would have been interesting to see how that played out.
The last bit that I just wanted to comment on this particular 2 minutes was when John actually does come into the room, and Sarah has this same face that she pulls throughout the whole movie, and it's like a cross between startled, pissed off, and a bit of, oh, I think I just let one slip. It's just constant, like that. I don't know, it's just really frustrating. And when John walks in, she pulls that same face again. And my question was, do we think she is kind of suspicious initially? Like, because obviously even though she hasn't had John yet, would you feel like a woo make, like seeing your child? Or if like she didn't get that, does that mean that because Kyle is convinced straight away because he kind of goes up to him and hugs him, and yet he's the one that's been so skeptical throughout this whole thing about Pops, no?
Yeah.
I don't know. They're all my notes.
Well, I was going to say, John Brancato was one of the writers on this film. John Brancato, of course, worked on... to go back to Terminator Salvation, a guy called John Brancato is a screenwriter. He wrote Terminator 3 and then worked on 4. He was asked in early 2001 to kind of write this, I guess, bare bones of a script for Jonathan Mostow for Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. But he doesn't like James Cameron and he hates the Terminator film. So why this guy was asked to kind of like give rebirth or write a third film, I have no idea. He's written this about the Terminator films. The original Terminator was lean, mean, and a juiced-up rip-off of Westworld, and Harlan Ellison unapologetically and delightfully... of Harlan Ellison's work, and it was delightfully paradoxical. As I walked back to my car from the theatre at Fairfax and Beverly in 1984, I immediately generated a parody story in which a nun travels back in time to Jesus on the cross in order to jack him, impregnate herself, and give birth to a demigod. This guy wrote Terminator 3. I think this is why Terminator 3 is kind of a bit of a parody. So here he goes again. 8 years later, I stood in the line at the Cinerama Dome for the opening night of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. For all the cool digital morphs, the movie was a sprawling mess, bloated and self-important on multiple levels. It was a betrayal of the original, and I couldn't stand it. So he hates Terminator 2 as well. So the idea of a third installment with the new director struck me as a sleazy and a little sad. The two Terminators that had come to be seen as sacred works of genius, fueling the cult of James Cameron. Lines like "I'll be back," "Hasta la vista, baby" were permanently enshrined in pop culture. Put some other dude behind the camera and throw in some new writers and skip any involvement from the king of the world. and the world would line up to hate you. So he's explaining why no one liked Terminator 3, but I think it's because it's a really bad film. But why this guy was asked to, like, literally hates these films, and James Cameron will be asked to write 3 and 4, I have no idea, but I think that's why they make little sense and they're not very good. 3 is like I guess a parody or a greatest hits package of the other 2 films. And the 4th one's okay, but yeah, it's a big mess. I just thought I'd mention that because we were talking about Terminator Salvation. John Brancato is the guy's name. I'll leave his blog, which he kind of writes about his experience working with the films and his hatred for James Cameron, as a link below in the show notes of this show. Oh, Ellie.
Anyway,
I don't know. What do you think of
I
that?
really don't have an opinion on it at all. I'm kind of done with those.
A guy that hates Cameron and the Terminator films was asked to write a 3rd Terminator. It's just a very strange move for the on the filmmaker's part.
Some people really enjoy Terminator Salvation, but I don't believe that they're real fans of the franchise.
Have you met any?
Yeah, I'm Warwick, who I'm currently living with at the moment, and a couple of other guys. Warwick,
who is he?
Because I was living here beforehand when we were doing that particular season, and he walked in and he was like, "You give that film such a hard time. It's actually really good." And I was like, "Get out!"
Oh, it's not bad. It's just not great, and in comparison to the other.
What's his name? He keeps commenting on loads of our stuff.
He is, but I can't reply to you, sir, because I'm literally. I'm blocked on Facebook again. I will tell you.
Yeah, we've been recently receiving some fresh love.
Christopher Dennis
yes,
de
hello,
Gardino.
sir. Thank you so much for joining our little family and Terminator analysis.
Yeah, he found us when we appeared on Ghostbusters Minute about 2 weeks ago, and now he's like super into the show and really likes it. So thank you for your support, sir. Apparently he's going to go around telling the world about us. So any help is good help. So thank you.
Did he leave us a review?
He has, yes. He's basically got us in his kind of like bank of minute shows that he listens to. He just, he likes us because we're not as, I think the other shows are quite dry. Some are better than others, but I think the others are like so deadly serious. And I guess we're not, and I think people either love us or hate us for that. This guy loves us, so Christopher Dennis
I don't know. I can't.
Christopher Dennis de Gardino. I've never been asked to say it out loud, but I've been going back and forth with him on the Facebook page for quite a while. And also, thanks to John Nichols for doing the Jewish or not picture.
I much prefer it with the beard. The beard is just
with the beard. Isn't it funny how I look
Jewish,
really kind of would fit in with that?
It's
with that beard.
Hair and dark eyes. But you've got no money,
See.
You've got the worst Jew ever. You'd be like the opposite.
One day I will. I've always had this weird feeling when I exit this mortal coil as a millionaire. Don't laugh. It's my dream.
Anyway, that's all I have to say, Ethan.
All right, well, I'm just going to wrap up by giving a bit of trivia, which I've skipped over. And the reason we had a week off. First, the trivia, Ellie. This is the second film in which Arnold Schwarzenegger appears, but Earl Boen does not. Boen, of course, played Dr. Silberman in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and he had a little cameo in Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. The first film that he wasn't in is Terminator Salvation. Now, Otto Sanchez and J.K. Simmons previously collaborated in Oz, when they both played prisoners. That's the 1997 prison drama, basically, which I've not seen, which is apparently very good. Recommended by Drew, so it's probably rubbish.
That does not make me want to go and watch that.
In Terminator 2, they were together again, but they both played detectives, basically. And that's it. The reason we had a week off, by the way, I was working for the CNN election campaign party in London, so I was working for the event company that Ellie actually works for, but she wasn't on that job.
And it was very difficult, but yes, we did. It was actually in the Evening Standard as well.
Yeah, it was a bit creepy. And I did mention they live at the start of...
It was all really good, but then as soon as it was kind of made obvious that it was Trump that was going to win, apparently shit went really weird.
Yeah, it went sour. Because I like listeners. You wouldn't know this from listening to all these shows, would you? But I like annoying people. So people were asking me, who are you going to vote for? And it was very centric that you had to say Hillary. And I think this is one of the reasons Trump has actually gotten in the first place. Because in the actual vote, that as you walked into the party, the actual event, you could hit a button, either vote Trump or Hillary, a red or a blue button. And on the screens, Trump had like 120 votes and Hillary had about 700 and something. So it was a 1,000-person party. And people would come up and ask you and go, who will you vote for? And I would have said Bernie Sanders, but as we all know, Hillary's camp worked against to get him like less media coverage and shove him out of the race, essentially. And then I said probably the third party candidate would be Gary Johnson, even though he got the word Aleppo and the town in Syria wrong that they were bombing. I still think he'd have been a better choice. But I think there's this perception in America, and I said this to this woman, and well, several people actually had the same conversation, that if you vote for a third-party candidate, you're literally throwing your votes away, and it also keeps this perpetual idea that it has to be Republican or Democrat, and the kind of the pressure to vote for Hillary just because she's a woman and not because of all the terrible war crimes, the WikiLeaks emails, the working against Bernie's campaign in order to destroy it, seems to have gone over people's head, and they're more in love with the idea, now we've had a black president, we need to tick the next box, which is a female president, despite her being...
Michelle Obama should run for president in 2010. You're just like, for fuck's sake, stop trying to tick this like politically correct quota box.
Yeah, well, she's even though she is the president's wife, she's a qualified lawyer. I wouldn't say she'd, and this is not to defend Trump at all, because he's a businessman. However, yeah, picking Michelle Obama just because she's a woman and black, and we need some kind of social justice warrior box ticked in 2020 when she's not qualified to be a president. Neither's Trump, by the way, so don't... But I don't know. Trump seems to have calmed down now, and I think he's played the media perfectly, and he's just gone on stage and said, this is what's happening, all these people are corrupt, and this is how... I think the best outcome for this will be to stop special interest groups or politicians to get outside money for their campaign.
The first person to congratulate Trump was Putin. I found that absolutely hilarious.
Well, yeah, I get Putin thinks, oh, I've got a man on the inside now. If I can get to Trump, I can bring America down from the inside. Who knows? Maybe they can. I think ultimately, as Bill Burr said, whoever's in the White House, it doesn't actually really matter.
Election has been, again, once used as maybe a bit of a smokescreen to what's going on in the rest of the world. I mean, there's this huge kind of like threat, this like Russia and all this kind of like look into NATO and fucking nuclear bombs and stuff. It's just been massively overlooked. But yeah, interesting stuff. Anyway, do you want to add any more?
So what do you think about Trump being the president? I think because the Hillary's like meanness and conspirement against Bernie Sanders.
Hillary, like if I'd woken up, it would have been like Brexit all over again. If I'd woken up to Hillary.
It wouldn't really have mattered. I think Brexit's the same. It's also like people complain about democracy when it doesn't go their way, and I think people in London.
The fact that no matter how much propaganda was put.
But it's not really the world that's lost their shit. I think in England, the Brexit thing, the only people that complain about Brexit were the people in London who go, oh, we should be in Europe and do this and this, whereas the majority vote, which is democracy, by the way, listeners, voted to leave Europe. I don't think it matters up or down either way to the average person either.
Bad was because of how close it was. It wasn't a landslide. It was literally 49-51. And it's...
I don't know, I still think they're kind of fixed, because all these elections, English or American, are always in 1 or 2 points of each other, and that can't be true.
No,
it can't be like democracy isn't 50-50.
No, Brexit's different. That's about staying in the EU or not. That's not about electing someone to be your prime minister or the president.
No, but the problem I think with the EU is you've got unelected leaders who have a say in what happens in England, and that's why people kind of want it out, or one of the reasons, apart from the immigration thing, which isn't technically true and kind of pushed more by the media.
Caring for the environment and things like that, whereas this country just does not give a shit. And unfortunately, if we don't look after the environment, then we're all fucked, you know. Yeah, we are.
Are we though?
If we run out, no, if we
just
run
develop gills.
I've just got
I live in the sea. I don't care.
Out of the Simpsons in my head, right?
I've already got 3 eyes.
Anyway, massively digress.
One of them's Japanese.
People, thank you so much for tuning in. It's great to be back. Sorry we've been away for so long, but yes, Ethan has been working like a black, and I also have been staffing all of these events, and it's been absolutely mental. We did actually also go to Torch Garden on Saturday and had a ruddy good time, had a good dance, met some lovely people, and I felt pretty fucked all the next week. And so, yeah, it's nice to be back. Ethan, do you want to say something?
Yes, if you want to leave a review for the show, please do. If you've already left a review, leave another one. You might have more fun the second time. Who knows? You can watch the clip we're talking about ad infinitum on repeat, Mystery Science Theater 3K style, as we talk about it on our YouTube channel, 2 Minute Terminator. Please go to the 2 Minute Terminator page on Facebook, which I think has got the best collection out of any fan site on the internet, by the way, because that's where I stole all the pictures from, collectively, of all the Terminator films, production stills, special effects, behind the scenes, all that stuff. So there's much fun to be had there. Please follow us on Twitter. And thank you again for your support and your hilarious pictures, John Nichols and Christopher Dennis. Yeah, you know your second name. For following the show and helping promote us. If you are listening, tell 10 friends. Maybe one of them will download it and listen and have fun. Who knows? We shall return, of course, tomorrow with episode 31 as we hit the 1 hour mark halfway through. And Ellie, by the way, we've been asked to be on Dune Minute, the 1984 sci-fi film. Have you seen Dune? Oh my God, this is good. Okay. Do you like Dune?
Very weird.
It's very weird. Yeah, it's very H.R. Giger meets
Yeah,
David
that's
Lynch.
actually really good.
But it was one of the history's most troubled productions, and there's the director has to David Lynch had his name taken off one of the versions, and it's been monikered with Alan Smithy. Alan Smithy, of course, for film fans will know that if a director hates the film or has a really bad time in it, you can rechristen the film's directorial credit as Alan Smithy. And that's on a lot of films, actually, by the way. You can actually look them up. So there we have it. So, yeah, we'll return tomorrow. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for your support. Tell 10 friends. Leave a review on iTunes. And if you want to leave a few shekels in this Patreon account, please do. No one else has yet, and we're 2 years in, so who knows? We might be surprised. Ellie, thank you. I'll speak to you on the next one, I guess. Baby.
Watch out for machines. They're unstoppable. Watch out for machines. They will go, go.